Welcome to the Select Board meeting of February 3rd, 2025. Please join the board in a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we have a lot of applicants for residents on the Airport Commission. But before that vote, we have Airport Commissioner, a 3-year term, one applicant. Yes. Yeah, we might as well. And then we can open it up to, yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. This meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. We have members of the board here in person. We are not aware of any members of the board who are with us virtually. We may have members of the public who are joining us virtually. We have members of the public here in the room. Per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting that the Select Board is having by notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements that may be imposed by the chair so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform any attendees of any recordings. We are aware of a recording from the local scene and no one else. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so live and in person in the 1820 courthouse. They may also watch on the local scene, which the link to which is on our agenda. They may also participate in the meeting by using the remote participation Zoom link. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Excuse me. The first appointment is the Airport Commissioner, recommended for appointment by the Airport Commission. It's a 3-year term, and there's one applicant, Paul Worcester. Is Paul here? Would you like to say anything, Paul?
I just appreciate the opportunity to get my exercise in tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to represent the Airport Commission and expect to do so in a fair and fully representative way. I think you know, without passing on a resume, which I did not submit, I think you're all pretty familiar with my background, having been on the Airport Commission now for 24 years.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blitzer, second by Selectman Golden. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Congratulations and thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Non-voting, excuse me, technical representative from the full-time airport management staff. It's a 3-year term. Matt Cardillo, airport manager. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as you all know, I've been at the airport now for about 9.5 years, almost 10 years. As a technical non-voting representative, I'm there to answer any questions regarding the airport or any questions that any of the public might have. If I don't know those answers, I have all the connections I can get from a federal, state, local level to get representation there to answer those questions. So if you have any questions for me, other than that.
Any questions?
I just
Charlie?
have, just a comment, Matt. Obviously, you're a non-voting committee member, but we wanted you on there, or somebody with your expertise, just to assist the citizens that are going to be on there about the technical part of how the airport runs. So it's very important that you work with that committee and advise them on the technical things. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. That's my plan.
Yep.
Motion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bledsoe, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes,
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous.
Thank you.
The next is a non-voting representative from the Airport Users Group. It's a 1 3-year term. We have Christopher Heldberg, Donald Skatsko, and Joseph Reekie Jr. Are you all three here? Okay, you want to just come on up for a sec? Can all come up.
Good evening, gentlemen.
And you are?
Okay, Donald Stasko. I've made a petition to be on the board. I think you've seen my credentials. I've been involved with the airport for over 26 years now and have a facility there. I think I have the background and knowledge that would help this board in understanding what's taking place and where the future of the Plymouth Airport will go.
Okay, any questions from the board? Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Stasko, for being here tonight. I'm going to ask this question of any of the candidates who are in a group where multiple people have applied. The genesis for this committee arose from an opposition to an article at town meeting that proposed an expansion of the airport runway. Do you have an opinion, one way or another, on that expansion?
I didn't,
I said, do you have an opinion, one way or another, as to whether or not the airport runway should be expanded?
have I, and I think, I have hearing aids, so.
No worries. Come on over. Do you have an opinion, one way or another, as to whether or not the airport runway should be expanded? Yes. Can you go back to the mic? Thank you.
And would you want to hear my opinion why?
Yes, please.
Okay. The expansion of the runway will make it a lot safer for everyone that uses the airport, and it'll cut down on the noise concentration. So the takeoff will take place, and the airplane will be airborne at a higher altitude prior to the airport boundary, where the noise problem is, where we have homes. And it'll make it a lot safer in landing and taking off. So with this extension, depending on the type of aircraft, the airplane will be probably, depending on a light aircraft or a jet aircraft, it'll be, on a light aircraft, it'll be 200 or 300 feet higher at the boundary of the airport. With a jet aircraft, it'll be 500 to 600 feet higher. So it would lessen the noise impact. And by doing that, especially with larger aircraft, they use the most of the thrust at takeoff. Once they get at 400 feet, the power is pulled back to climb power from takeoff power. So it's going to make it a safer airport and less noise congestion.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
How you doing?
Good, how are you? I've been at Plymouth for about,
And your name, please, for the record?
Joseph Ritchie Jr.
Okay.
I've been at Plymouth for about 12 years in a mechanics aspect for it. Business owner on about a year and a half side. What else?
That's
About it.
Any questions from the board? Comments? Mr. Golden?
Same question, Mr. Ritchie. Do you have an opinion, one way or another, as to whether or not the airport runway should be expanded?
No,
No meaning it shouldn't, or no meaning you don't have an opinion?
no opinion.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Christopher here? Okay. Wish of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a nomination.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Joseph Ritchie Jr.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Golden, second by Mr. Blitzer. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney? Yes. Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Yes.
And myself, yes. 4 votes. Congratulations. The next one is 4 residents from the town of Carver. Recommended for appointment by the Carver Select Board. 1 3-year term, 2 2-year terms, and 1 1-year term. And we have 1, 2, 3, we have 5 applicants. Are all 5 applicants here? Kyle Waddell? Kyle's here? Okay. Ed James? Travis Olet? Robert Perry? Here. And Dan Ryan? Okay. Mr. Bodell, would you like to say something? Just identify yourself for the record, please.
I'm Kyle Bodell. I work down at Colonial Ford, Plymouth. I live in Carver on Tremont Street. Constantly see planes flying over. It's nice to see. I'm a father. Really would like a chance at being helpful and returning back some mindsets with the towns. And if I can help the committee where I can, I will gladly do so.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Golden?
Mr. Brodell, do you have an opinion as to whether or not the runway should expand?
Yeah, the expansion of the runway I wouldn't have a problem with. Obviously, as technology changes, we're either going to see bigger aircrafts or different styles of aircrafts, whether that be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, so on and so forth. The bigger the runway, obviously, it is going to be safer with a bigger landing strip, and possibly even having, more time for communications with a bigger landing strip.
Thank you. And we have 3 different terms. So we have 1 that's for a 3-year term, 2 for a 2-year term, and 1 for a 1-year term. Do you have a preference as to how long you'd serve?
No preference. Whatever the town and the board needs, I can accompany with.
Thank you.
I got
Thank
a question. How close are you to the airport where you live?
From a crow's eye, probably only 2 miles away.
Okay. So you're close?
Yeah, I'm pretty close. Yep.
Because, and you'll be able to work there's going to be people on both sides of certain issues.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get a fair and impartial, as best we can, committee
Yeah.
that can work together addressing any concerns. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. So you'll be able to do that.
Yes, as working at Colonial, there's 24 technicians. Everyone's a little different. Everyone has a different way of either repairing said vehicle or handling different situations, and it's all about overcoming and helping everybody out where you need to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Travis?
My name is Travis Solette. I have been a lifelong resident of Carver. I live on Weston Street, so I think I'm the closest one out of all of us to the airport on the Carver side. And I've grown up spending time at the airport, plane spotting, and I know the issues that the neighborhoods nearby the airport experience with the noise pollution and all the issues related to the airport. And I'll preemptively answer the question on whether my opinions on the expansion of the runway. I don't have an opinion, but I understand both sides of the argument.
Good answer.
Thank you for preemptively answering that question. I'll ask the same question about the term. Would you rather a 3-year term, a 2-year term, or a 1-year term?
I don't have a preference. Whatever would be better for the committee, I'd be happy to serve on.
Thank you.
Mr. Mahoney?
Travis, just another question. I'm going to ask Mr. Bletcher's question from the last candidate. What's your, as the crow flies, where do you live?
I live on Weston Street, so I'm right in the Bon Estates neighborhood. So I'm basically the first development on the Carver side of the Plymouth line.
So you're within a quarter of a mile, a
Probably
half,
walking distance.
to the end of the runway?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perry?
Afternoon, gentlemen. So I live on 3 Ward Street. My name is Robert Perry. So we are right in one of the flight paths of one of the main runways going, I believe it's southwest-ish. So I'm in full support of the Plymouth Airport. I've lived there for 33 years, born in Plymouth. I have no complaints about airplanes, the noise, aircraft make noise. If you have any questions, please ask.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Mr. Perry. Same 2 questions. First, do you have any do you have any opinion as to whether or not the runway should be expanded?
Let them come. As like one of the other candidates said, as technology evolves, we're going to have bigger aircraft, which needs bigger runway.
Thank you. And do you have a preference for the length of your term, 1, 2, or 3 years?
However, the Commonwealth wants me to serve, I'll do 3 years or more.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
No other questions? Okay. Dan Ryan? Welcome, Mr. Ryan.
Hi, thank you. I'm a member of the Carver Select Board, and I was asked by the board to serve on the committee to keep them informed. I graduated in Plymouth, school, so I've been a lifelong resident of Carver. I'm in North Carver. I've flown out of the airport too as a kid, so I'm familiar with it. And at this time, I don't have an opinion, but I feel I can be fair on whatever needs to be done. I'm not against expanding, if that makes sense. So I serve on the board. I've served on the Finance Committee. I was the chairman of the Finance Committee for many years. I'm on my 2nd term of the Carver Board. And I also served on building committees. I was the chairman of the Carver Library Building Committee, and I served on the elementary school. So I've been volunteering for most of my life, I think, and helping out where I can. I'm a engineering director. We make autonomous underwater vehicles for the Navy. That's my career. So I do program management and engineering director, and sure, I'm happy to serve. And I don't have a preference on the term. It could be whatever's needed.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Golden?
Thank you for being here, Mr. Ryan, and thank you for, you probably don't hear this a lot, thank you for your service on the Select Board as well.
Thank you.
I do have a question, though. So you don't have a preference as to the length of your term. Would you prefer, though, that it line up with the number of years you have left serving on the
I
Select
have
Board?
1 year left, so I'm 2 years into this term, so it's up to you.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, I could still brief the board even after, if I run again, then I'll be back on, but if not, then
Sure.
I could always continue to brief the board and the town administrator, too.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Mahoney? Then Mr. Bletcher.
What is your proximity as far as where you live to the end of the runway, Dan?
I'm in North Carver, so it's
Not
a
even-
ways away.
Okay. And last question, and maybe most important, what was the thought process with respect to your board deferring, if you will, these selections to this board as opposed to you guys making the decision over there?
We were told by the town administrator that we were just making a recommendation to give to you for the selection. I mean, we did take a motion on all the candidates to vote to submit them in, but we were given instructions that it was just to provide the candidates to you for the decision.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ryan, so the applicants came before you, and you vetted them and sent them to us.
Correct, and we only had 4 applicants, so
So-
we didn't have a lot. I mean, we
So-
basically sent them all over to you, and then the board also wanted to add, a member of the board to the recommendation
So
too.
what's similar, tonight, there's 4 people for 4 seats. So that's all you had that came before you.
Yeah, we had, well, I'm the 5th, so we had 4 members.
Yeah, but there's only 4 here tonight, I believe.
There's only 4 tonight, so one of the candidates that we nominated didn't, I guess is not here tonight.
Right.
But we nominated 4, and then the select board voted to send a member, so it was 5 in total.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The first nomination, if we will be for the 3-year term.
Are we going to go down the list, Mr. Chairman, and just?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go the next one, 2 years, then 1 year.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a nomination for Kyle Bodell for the 3-year term.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Golden, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous, and thank you. First 2-year term?
I'll make a motion on Select Board member from Carver, Dan Ryan.
Second.
Well, I think he only has 1 year left on his select board term.
He can still have fun.
Okay.
You're okay with that, right? Okay.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Mahoney, second by Mr. Golden.
Charlie.
Oh, Mr. Blitzer, sorry. Discussion?
I do have a point of discussion, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
I think that while I appreciate Mr. Ryan's willingness to serve for the duration of the 2 years, I think it makes better sense for him to serve in the 1 year, since the purpose of him being sent here by their select board is to report back to them as one of their members. So, no offense to you, Mr. Ryan, I will not support this. I will support you for the 1 year, though.
All right.
All right, what?
All right, Mr. Golden.
Yep.
I'm going to amend my motion to make that the 1-year term, okay, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you, John. Do I have a second?
And I can second that.
Second by Mr. Blitzer. Discussion. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. That's why I leaned over earlier to ask him how many years left. That's what I was doing.
All right, so,
All right, just see if I can confuse myself here. All right, we got the 3-year term, the 1-year term, and we have 2 left for 2-year terms. Mr. Olet,
put him,
right?
yep,
Mr. Chairman, if my colleagues are willing, I would nominate both Mr. Olet and Mr. Perry for the 2-year terms.
second?
Motion by Mr. Golden, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Congratulations and thank you all. The next set is 8 residents from the town of Plymouth, 2 3-year terms, 3 2-year terms, 3 1-year terms, and we have quite a few applicants, so we've looked through your resumes, if you will, and we're going to give every applicant 2 minutes. So, just to keep it moving, there's quite a few of you, so, and that's a good thing. So first is Kenneth Aspach here. Please come up.
Hi there, my name is Ken Anspaugh, and I've been in Plymouth resident for 2 years. I'm a private pilot, but not current. I've landed in Plymouth a lot of times, or many times, and a lot of takeoffs and landings, so it's a fantastic facility. I love going out there, and I just want to be a part of the community.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Golden?
Yes, thank you for being here tonight, Mr.
Anspaugh.
Anspaugh? Nice to meet you. Again, same question. Do you have an opinion one way or another as to whether or not the airport runway should be expanded?
I don't know all the facts, so I'd certainly open to either way to go there.
Thank you.
Question, how long have you lived here and how much knowledge do you have of the airport?
I've lived here 2 years. Again, my knowledge is only that I go over to Jane's for breakfast, and I watch and have landed here a few times myself. So I love airplanes, and I love being a part of the aviation community.
Do you live in the neighborhood or near there? Or?
I live near on Sawyer's Reach over at County Place,
Okay.
so near enough to see the planes. And certainly when I go out golfing, I'm watching them doing their touch and goes quite a bit. But I'm not really affected by airport noise and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Is Chad Agostinger here? Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Chad Argotzinger. I have been a Plymouth resident for 12 years, I believe. I live off of Matthews Trail, so Marscott Way. They fly over my house every day. I don't have any opinion, but a lot of my neighbors do. We have a lot of yard signs, so I'm not quite sure what their opinions are, but I would love to find out why many of them oppose it. It's probably the noise. So Matthews Trail, in case you're not familiar, is right on the other side of the recreational field there.
Yep.
What else could I answer for you?
Any questions?
No?
No?
Yep, no, I'm all set.
All
Yep,
set, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Adam Bond? Welcome.
Good evening. Adam Bond, 44 Goldfinch Lane. I live on the approach, and I guess the exit goes both directions. When I moved in, I thought that might be an issue. It wasn't. It's been 8 years, and actually I enjoy seeing some of the prop planes come in while I sit down on the water and just watch them fly around. You have my resume. I have been involved on boards, dealing with projects, dealing with EPA, MEPA, EIRs, all the other things that are involved. My bent, while I don't have, and this is in anticipation of the question, my bent is trying to find ways for the town I live in to take advantage of economic opportunities if possible, while at the same time being smart about development. From what I understand, you are talking about adding on about a football field length, a little more than football field length onto the airport. I think there are a whole lot of people in terms of government that are looking at this, that are issuing reports, looking at reports back and forth. I don't have an opinion, a predisposed notion as to what I would do. I just know that one of the things I'd like to see happen in a town like this is it to continue moving forward economically and continuing to take advantage of some, whatever opportunities it may, to try and relieve some of the tax burden on the rest of us, if that's possible. So that's not a position, it's just sort of a schema or a prism through which I look at things. And I've been here 8 years.
Questions from the board?
That's
Thank
mine
you.
too.
Anthony Caruso?
Good evening. My name is Anthony Caruso. I've been a resident of West Plymouth for 50 years, 51 this year. So I'm very familiar with the airport. I also was a commissioner for 2 terms back in the early 2000s. And I was also on that original committee called the PAG. I live about 3.5 miles from the airport. And I think it could be an asset to the committee because I'm on both sides of the aisle, as they say. So I would like to be on the committee.
Questions from the board? Comments? Mr. Golden?
Mr. Caruso, I may have missed it, but do you have an opinion one way or another as to whether or not the runway should be expanded?
I haven't made up my mind completely. I'm leaning towards it because I think it's going to be safer. But I haven't made up my mind 100%, and maybe this committee will
Thank you.
help me decide.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Caruso.
Thank you.
Peter Connor?
Pete Connor, Macasia Pond Road, which is on the extended approach to runway 24 at Plymouth. Just so everyone knows, I did operate a business there for 47 years. We sold that a couple of years ago, and now I'm semi-retired. I just am a designated inspector for the FAA, doing certain airliners and stuff for them. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I think 350 feet to 351 feet is pretty insignificant. I do fly, I only fly a small airplane, and I share the sentiment that it does make it safer in some aspects for going over houses and all that stuff. But I really don't have a strong opinion one way or the other right now. And if I were selected, I don't have any preference. Whatever would fit in would be okay with me. In case you don't reappoint me to the zoning board, I'd have something to do there.
Hold on, Peter.
Hold on, Peter. Any questions?
You're not getting
for
away that quick. I do.
Mr. Connor? Mr. Bledsoe?
Hi, Peter, thank you for applying. I've seen you on the zoning board. And,
I'll be there in a little while.
So my question is, we have opponents to the runway opponents, and you'll be able to sit down and work with
Oh, I think
the
so.
other parties.
I mean, I've been a part of most everything that's happened at airport since 1976 when we came here, and we've had a lot of discussions with neighborhoods and over the years, and worked through it all without, there were compromises and stuff, but yeah, I think I'm in a spot where I'm semi-retired to be
Certainly,
fairly.
certainly with all the controversial things that go through the zoning board, and we won't even talk about them tonight because the 2 minutes will be gone, but.
I'd rather be here than there tonight.
So what we're trying to accomplish with this is, we're trying to get a committee together that has maybe opinions, both sides, whatever, but we need people working together to try and solve the problems, because, this is not a political speech, but every resident deserves to be heard. And, everybody has, you're not going to agree. This committee, probably if there's 10 issues, everybody's not going to agree with every issue, but we just need reasonable people like yourself to be able to listen and, make recommendations to us, because you're going to save us. There's a lot of people very vocal about what goes on there.
Yeah,
good and bad, good and bad.
Was it the PAG committee?
Yeah.
So that was the big one we had, right?
Right.
Years ago, we had a committee years ago when there was going to be a real big extension, and
I remember
it was
that, yeah.
18, 20 of us or something. Yeah, and we really struggled for a while with both sides of the issue, and it actually came to a compromise that seemed to satisfy most everybody. So
Good.
I think that's the way you got to do it.
All right, okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
Alan Costello?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Alan Costello. I live at 41 Huntington Road. I've lived there for 28 years. Huntington Road, where I live, is approximately a mile east of the runway that we're talking about here, 624. And I've enjoyed the airport living there. I've never had any problems in the past. I've also, for the last several years, just prior to COVID, taken lessons. I'm a student pilot at the airport. So I enjoy the airport. So I thought it would be best if I lended some of my limited experience and got on this committee. So to answer Mr. Bledsoe, we could have a decent conversation on what should happen going forward at the airport. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Golden?
Mr. Costello, thank you for being here tonight. It's good to see you, as always.
Good seeing you, sir.
Do you have any preference one way or another as to whether or not the airport runway should be expanded?
To date, as a town meeting member, I voted against the expansion as it was presented to us. And that was another time I thought that it'd be a good time to get involved and see what's going on there, because there seem to have been some discrepancies. I enjoy the airport, and I'm not looking to shut down the expansion, but I think it has to be talked about, vetted amongst the neighbors, and make sure it works good for everyone. I've never, in the 28 years I've lived at the end of the runway, opposed any expansion of the airport. But I would just make you aware that this particular expansion is going to require some discussion and debate. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
All set, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Mark Denish?
Good evening, I'm Mark Denish. We've been living in Plymouth now for about 7 years. I know nothing about aviation, I know nothing about airport operations, airport strategy. I'll be very blunt with you. My background is in the pharmaceutical industry, where I was an executive for many, many years, and currently I'm president and CEO of a small consulting operation in the pharmaceutical business. Hold the BS in economics and MBA in finance, and I currently serve as a board member of a nonprofit animal shelter in Princeton, New Jersey, from whence we came.
Thank you, Mr. Denish. Do any of my colleagues have questions? I'll just ask the same question I've asked everyone else. Do you have a preference as to whether or not the runway should be expanded?
I do not, sir. I don't understand the issues to and fro, and I like to dig into it and understand the perspectives of all the residents on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is Bernard Durante here? Is Bernard online? All right. Adam Elias, is he online? All right. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn things back to you with Nancy Feeney.
Okay, Bernard Durante's not here, right?
Nancy Feeney is next.
Nancy Feeney, that's the next one, David? Yeah. Nancy Feeney? Justin Fosdick?
Hi, I'm Justin Fosdick. I'm a town meeting member currently in Precinct 11. I live at 56 Peter Road, so within a mile of the airport. Currently, I'm a recent graduate from Syracuse with a BS in human-centered design and research, and I'd be very interested in, continuing to be engaged and help with my community. I don't yet have a solid opinion on the runway expansion, but I'd be happy to hear from the community as well as all of the facts and reports that have been compiled thus far to form my opinion and then come to an agreement.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle Haas?
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. Kyle Haas. I have a master's in environment and resource management, and I spend my days working with utilities, governments, state and local, on infrastructure policy. So I'm well experienced in stakeholder management, having discussions with communities about how it will impact them both positively and negatively, and balancing those. I also serve on the OCPC, the Old Colony Planning, Economic Development Commission, excuse me. So again, lots of experience in balancing economic opportunity with sort of negative impact to the community. I don't have an opinion. I do live in the flight path, but I'm not as close as some of the folks who are in the crowd today.
Any questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you. Jennifer Hanlon, I believe, is remote. Hi. Hi, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
seems like I am logged into my daughter's Zoom. I apologize for that. I live on Sushala Way. Yes, we are in the flight path. Been a resident, I was born here, been a resident off and on. I've lived in West Plymouth since 2005, I believe. What kind of questions do you have for me?
Mr. Golden?
Thank you for joining us virtually here tonight, Mrs. Hanlon.
Thanks for having me.
I've asked the same question of all the other applicants, unless they've volunteered it up front, which I appreciate. But do you have an opinion one way or another as to whether or not the airport runway extension should go forward?
I am honestly not for it as it is right now. There's several reasons. My wish to be on the committee is to help relay more transparency from the commission and what the airport does to the neighbors and what is really happening. There seems to have been a disconnect from recent years. Yes, there used to be about maybe 20 years ago an advisory committee like this, I believe, that for some reason was disbanded. That runway extension, to the best of my knowledge, was to be this same distance that they would like to do now. And that didn't happen then, and there was a lot of community involvement. So it is my wish to be part of that and to help bring the information to the neighbors as to what they plan and what's going on, because this is where we live and these are our homes. So that's my desire, to be on the committee, since we live so close. I'd like to represent our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you, Ms. Hanlon. Timothy Hellman?
Hello, my name is Tim Helm. In North Triangle Drive, about 2.5, 3 miles away from the airport. Been in the aviation industry for the last 20 years, graduated Bridgewater State, worked anything from fueling planes to mowing grass, up to currently fly a business jet out of Hanscom Field at Bedford. So been in airport operations and worked at Marshfield Airport for 15, 16 years. And the entire time they were going through a similar expansion project. So I don't know many of the particulars of the Plymouth project, but as a pilot, I don't think you're going to find another pilot that says a bigger runway isn't safer, more usable. So it is, and I've seen the impact of what Marshfield's project has done for the airport in general. So definitely in favor of an expansion. Again, I don't know the particulars of this project, but I'd love to find out. I have a couple young kids in town. I'd love them to be able to go to Plymouth Airport, learn how to fly there if they are willing in the future, but love the lend my expertise wherever I can.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Mahoney?
Tim, so
Yes.
You referenced Marshfield. So
Correct.
what did you witness them do, and what was your opinion of what the results were?
So they had a smaller runway, 3,000 feet, much smaller than Plymouth in the first place. They went through a similar expansion project. They added safety areas on each end, plus another 300 feet of runway. So went from 3,000 feet of pavement to 3,900 feet of pavement overall. So it was a full expansion of 900 feet, thereabouts. So it has helped. So they do have small jet operations that work there. So those have, similar to Plymouth, it's all just local, regional aircraft, really. Plymouth is marginally bigger to begin with. But it has safer, it's better for the students to land. There's more of a margin of safety. And just like the Plymouth, they moved the ends of the runway. So as we're taking off over the beach at Marshfield, so specifically runway 6, by the time we got to where the main parts of the houses are along the beach, we're 200, 300 feet higher. The noise levels are lower along the beach. So I believe that's what's Mr. Stasko here was trying to explain earlier. So it was a benefit to the people on the ground having the ends of the runway relocated. Thank you. Yep, no problem.
Any more questions from the board? Thank you.
Oh.
Thomas Kaziri. Thomas Kaziri. Kenneth Kessels, remote.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Can you hear me
evening,
okay?
welcome. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So my name's Ken Kessel, and I've lived in Plymouth for 27 years. I'm a private pilot, not current right now. I'm a town meeting member as well, Precinct 11 for the past 4 years. I have kids in the area. I'm also in a butter. I live about 1.5 miles from the airport, and I'm not against the airport, and I'm not necessarily against the airport expansion either. I just want to make sure that the people of Plymouth, and especially the abutters, have a word and have their voices heard with the pros and cons of expansion, and make sure it's done right. So that's why I put my name into this hat.
Okay. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Latang.
Good evening. Steve Lantang, Baldwin Circle. I'll try to talk fast. I thought we had a standard 3 minutes. I cut some stuff out, so don't start the timer until 15 seconds, all right? I'll try to talk quick. Other people gave me their time that didn't use it. I believe I'd be a valuable member and an asset to the Airport CAC, representing as many residents as possible. For this Airport CAC to be successful, everyone needs to be open and honest with all the reasons and facts. Then we can try to discuss and debate rationally, respectfully, and to try to come up with an acceptable solution to all the residents. As you know, it can be very difficult to try to get the community involvement on this issue or any issue. It's always a challenge. What has kept us going, motivated, was the openness, encouragement from every resident we talked to, the Select Board, the Finance Advisory Board, the chairs, rep meetings, and the town representatives, all been encouraging us to move forward. With this encouragement, we created our website, takebackourplymouthairport.org. We recently handed out 1,000 business cards, 200 lawn signs, and this past weekend we sent out 1,000 postcards to some of the residents of Plymouth and Carver. We are constantly getting new requests, and we are in the process of ordering more for everything. Almost everyone who we talk to believes priority one with the main responsibility of the airport commission and manager is looking out what the best interest is of the residents. Number one, that's supposed to be what they're doing. Yes, the airport is an enterprise fund and it is a business, but it shouldn't be at the expense of the welfare of the residents. It is our understanding that they are supposed to be the stewards of our airport, and their main responsibility should be looking out for the residents' quality of life, and not only for the benefit of a few people and a few businesses at the airport. Thank you.
Questions from the board? Mr. Golden?
5 seconds to spare, so well done. Mr. Lantang, we've talked before, so I know the answer to this question, but could you just share your preference as to whether or not the airport runway should be expanded?
Correct. It's the main driving force why me and my wife's been doing this for 12 months. It's any footage, you add a foot to the runway, it increases safety for the smaller planes. What it is the magical number of 5,001 feet opens up the airport for private luxury jets, like the Falcon 2000s that are there. They're there and they're they can only take off at 30% payload because they're too big for the airport. Once we increase to 5,000, it opens it up to all the private luxury jets to come. And that's our fear, if you've ever been under one of them when they take off.
So just to be clear, you're opposed to the full expansion as what's been described as the 351 feet?
Absolutely, at this point,
Thank
yes. I would rather have them do the same runway with all safety, electronics and everything we have today, the new technologies. Why not make both runways safer?
Thank you.
Steve, how you doing? Thank you. The same kind of concerns I have. You know, I talked to people about that for the airport and for the expansion. You're going to be on a committee possibly with people that are against it. It's the other way around for you. Are you going to be able to work? You're going to have an airport commissioner, the airport manager, and users. And I call these, and they're non-voting members, but I call them the experts, I guess, in aviation and in running an airport. As a resident, I know you're in a butter, you're concerned. Will you be able to work with these folks and be open-minded to work, to come up with solutions for what you think are
Absolutely.
problems, come up with solutions?
The only way to be successful in anything is everybody's got to be open-minded and the facts have to be out there in transparency. Yeah. And in my job as a lead principal engineer at a $141 billion company, my success has always been attributed to being open-minded.
And I call it working together. If there's a problem, let's get a solution, and the best solution we can get. So, okay, thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. Lisa Lantang?
Hi, thank you. Lisa Lantang, Baldwin Circle. Is this close enough? I've been a resident of West Plymouth, as you all know, for 37 years. I've never had any concerns about our airport until the last couple of years with the increase in traffic. We've had frustration expressing our concerns to the current management of the airport and the commission. So that's why we began going to the meetings and trying to fight the expansion. And since speaking at the 2024 annual Springtown meeting and subsequent presentations to you, the Select Board, Committee of Precinct Chairs, the Advisory and Finance Committee, and other interested groups, we felt that our concerns have finally been heard. So it did encourage us to start our website, and now we are hearing from people all over Plymouth, not just West Plymouth, not just neighbors underneath the runway. And it's for that reason that we continue on, because we are hearing from people. You wouldn't get it from what you're hearing tonight in this room, but we can't get people to get in here and get onto these committees. It's tough to get people to want to join this kind of thing. I feel like I am speaking for our residents, making a difference in my message to the board, to the Airport Commission, to this committee, if I can get on it. It really stops me from just selling my house and moving out of here, because that's the point that we're at right now, is the intolerability of the airport activity that's over our homes. And I'm not even as close as a lot of people, about a mile and a half away, quarter away. Clearly, I offer dedication and heart to this issue and the willingness to take the time and energy to engage my neighbors so that I can present their voices, not just mine, and listen to people on the board if I got on this board, and work with people to try and get our message through and hear what they have to say as a counter. As my resume states that I submitted, I have extensive experience in finance and operations. I have organizational and analytical skills, quality and time management skills. I handle contracts, funding, and reporting to government agencies efficiently with great attention to detail. My trajectory in my field began as a self-taught bookkeeper to senior VP of finance and operations for a multi-million-dollar IT consulting company. So I have a lot of experience working with people and trying to figure things out. I have the skills to listen, analyze, debate, reassess, obtain supporting documentation for decisions, and flexibility to change the course of action for the best outcome as needed. I would also offer the secretary, if you need the secretary position. Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mrs. Lantain, for being here tonight. Same question on the expansion of the airport runway. Could you share your opinion with us as to whether or not it should go forward?
Yes, I think you all know I do strongly object to the expansion of the runway. The expansion that was done years ago to the 1533 runway was to make them even, to balance the planes going over the neighbors. And now they're trying to extend the runway 624. Why? Why does it need to be extended? Would it be safer for the little planes? Yes, but as my husband explained, getting it over that 5,001 feet opens up for more traffic. We're not saying bigger planes, we're just saying more traffic. And we already have multiple flight schools circling over our homes. To add to that, the jets that, you know, what was it, 5:30 Christmas Eve morning jet flying over our house. So we know that's going to increase. So I'm very much against it. I would love to hear other opinions on the board and see what anybody has to say about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Michael Leary?
Yeah. My name is Michael Leary. I live in North Plymouth on Court Street for the last 12 years. Prior to that, I lived 28 years on Weston Street in Carver, which is right near the airport. I never had any problems with the airport. I don't have any problems with it right now. I was going to volunteer for this committee because I thought that I'd have a fresh face and a fresh opinion and take all in the information and process it fairly and, you know, see what the outcome might be.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Leary, for being here tonight. Could you share your opinion as to whether or not you would support the airport runway expansion?
I can't say that I support or not support it because I don't have enough information at this time. If I was on the committee, I would get some more information, and I'd be able to make an opinion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Guess not. Jared Luffy? Stephen Michael Palmer? Yeah.
Good evening, always a pleasure. I didn't think there would be that many people here tonight. I'm overwhelmed with the volunteerism. I come myself as an active volunteer for the town, and if I came and look, listen, and learn, LLO, it would be good, you know, and I was going to do the secretary, but with all these people here and all, you don't need me here. So I'm going to withdraw my application. I got a lot to do, you know, and I'm glad you got enough educated people here, pilots and navigators, and I love to hear it. And I'm against the runway. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer, I'd just like to thank you for your
Charles.
I'd like to thank you for your volunteerism. I know this community means a lot to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Charlie. Thank you. I might vote for you.
I always vote for you.
Jason Pereira?
Jason Pereira from Manamet since 2003. Worked at the Plymouth Airport as a director of maintenance. Now I work at the Marshfield Airport as a manager of the jets.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being with us here tonight, Mr. Pereira. Could you share with us your opinion as to whether or not the runway expansion should proceed?
I agree with the expansion for safety issues and more revenue for the town of Plymouth. But again, I see both sides of why.
Thank you.
People don't want it.
Happy to see another man Met guy here.
Any other questions? John?
Mr. Pereira, so you say that you currently work in Marshfield?
Yes, I do.
And you are the manager of the Jets?
Correct.
All right, so what does that mean? What do you do?
I just make sure that they're FAA compliant, make sure they're safe for flight.
So, so you inspect the jets?
Yeah, I inspect them. I check the paperwork, make sure the paperwork's up to date, and the FAA requirements are met.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Walter L. Powell? Dr. Powell? Lorraine Ramsey?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, I have inherited property in West Plymouth. I've been coming here for years and years, visiting relatives. Gosh, I've been doing a lot of volunteer work in Plymouth. I've been living here now about 15 years full-time in West Plymouth. I volunteered at the Plymouth Animal Shelter. I was on the board of directors for the Friends of Miles Standish State Forest. I am currently a volunteer at the hospital. Plymouth is a magnificent place. I've lived in a number of countries, a number of states. A lot of my relatives are high-ranking Air Force, so I'm involved. I know about aviation, although I don't like flying myself, but that's not here nor there. And and I guess I'm an advocate for people that don't want their voices heard, so I guess I'll make my voice heard. I have a couple of issues as far as the runway expansion goes. I used to sit in my garden every summer. It was wonderful. We used to go to Plain Jane's, the old building. We loved the airport. We visited small airports out of state. A friend of mine works at an airport, a small airport in Virginia. So I'm very well versed. But they're mostly in rural areas, these small airports, not in congested areas. That's an issue I have. The flight schools, there's a lot of flight schools at this airport. And I noticed, I'm not totally sensitive, but I guess I maybe, noise is like a pollution. And I hear planes all day, every day over my house. I don't think they're jets. I mean, there's 3 flight schools for training private pilots. Those are a lot of planes. And that's, but now it's getting to be annoying. There's environmental issues involved. It's a highly congested, developed area. Lots of people around. The residents, I don't know, maybe they just don't want to speak, but I'll speak for them. And I don't know if I think it's a great idea. Who's benefiting from the expansion? Not me. I don't fly out of the airport. I'm not a pilot. And I have no problem with aviation. It's a fascinating industry. I understand the fascination of flying above the earth in a tube. But nonetheless, I have concerns. And I think people should be aware of them. Environmental, the noise. And I also quite don't understand something. And please, correct me if I'm wrong. I've made a few mistakes now and again, but why are you asking that question about if you're in favor of the expansion or not? Is that relevant to the decision who's going to be on the committee?
You want me to answer that?
Go ahead, John.
Lorraine, when a board member asks a question like that, they're just trying to gauge maybe their preference isn't to have someone or to support someone on the committee who is already locked in on one way or the other.
Well, so far, mostly all the people I've heard have been locked in. They want the expansion. And they're mostly pilots who enjoy the airport, which I have no problem with. I understand that. That's good. But there's the rest of us as well. There's more of us than them. And I know in Marshfield, our reason the airport expanded, I mean, there's a great, well, doesn't Steven Tyler live in Marshfield? Man, that's great getting him in and out. And plus, I have friends near the Bedford, Hanscom Airport, not field. And also the teams fly in there. They don't want to fly into Boston. So, I mean, and that's okay. But the rest of us should have a say. There should be a reasonable agreement. Maybe no flights for 2 days a week. Maybe a blackout for Saturday and Sunday. Maybe, and 3 flight schools, I mean, flights go from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. Every day. And like I said, it never bothered me until that last expansion. And now, maybe I'm just becoming sensitive. But I mean, I also can hear both sides, and I can understand. But to have a successful endeavor and to have people enjoy life and each other, you need compromise. You need negotiation. There has to be no. There has to be rules. I mean, nobody wants to hear the word no. And I mean, if the airport's not safe now, well, that's a big problem. They keep saying more safe. Well, what's the matter with it now? It seems to be pretty safe. Although someone did tell me that there was a crash there a long time ago, but nonetheless, that's not here nor there. But I think there's voices to be heard, and I don't know. Can you say no? Who will be upset? So, I mean, I do like to mediate, and I think everybody should have a voice. And I'm not argumentative or opinionated, but I'm willing to work on a committee to find the greater good for everybody. So people are happy. They're not sort of like really upset about what's happening. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
One question. Okay. Lorraine, I got one question for you. Will you listen to the people that are for the expansion?
I will. I
You'll
will.
listen to them,
I
okay.
will. I
That's
will.
all we're asking, so.
Yeah, no.
That's
no.
all I'm asking.
But it also has to be a solution that's a realistic solution that everybody.
But you'll listen if somebody has
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Ramsey, thank you for being here tonight. The reason I'm asking this question is precisely because of what you touched upon, and I think that there should be a balance on this committee. And so I wouldn't want to see it swing hard one way or the other.
Yeah.
To be clear, and I appreciate Mr. Bletzer's question about you listening to the folks who are in favor. Are you in favor or opposed?
You know, I can see both sides, but I think there has to be a give and take on both sides. I mean, no has to be involved, yes has to be involved. And I'm hoping that the decision has not already been made, and this is all like sort of like fluff to show that people are behind it, no big deal, it's okay. You know, and I would just be very sad. This is a democracy, and Plymouth was a great town. It's a gem. It's been a tad overdeveloped, but I mean, it's a shame to have the character of the town change, I think. But that's just my opinion. But I'm willing to work if you're willing to give me a chance.
I would say that that didn't answer my question, though I appreciate the response.
All right.
If you were to have an opinion one way or the other right now, which would it be?
I would tend, well, you know, I'm afraid if I give an answer, they're going to say, okay, black mark. I probably am opposed to that. I don't have enough facts to convince me it is the best necessary thing to benefit the most people.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, and it definitely is, as David touched on also, I was waiting, it's definitely balanced, because whenever you put together a committee or you don't, I mean, you want people that are going to work together, and you have to have both sides.
My background has been in education, and I've been dealing with a lot of community, families, issues, whatever, in various parts of the world. So, no, I can listen, and I can accept the decision, and but I just think everybody has to have a voice.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick Robbins?
Evening. I'm Rick Robbins. I live on Rocky Pond Road. I've been there since 1992. I've been in Plymouth since 1971. I have friends, relatives that own businesses at the airport. I currently and still am a member of the Plymouth Rod and Gun Club, been on that executive board for about 30 years now. We're a budding neighbor to the airport, so we work hand in hand on certain items for it. My house is in one of the flight patterns, more to the landing pattern, and the med flight going back and forth to the airport, along with state police and the jets going out over the ocean, not a problem in my opinion. Airport's been here since 1929, 1939, way before other people developed around us. Far as in favor, yes, I am for the expansion.
Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you.
Gavin Shanahan? No. Jared Luffy?
Evening, guys. So my name's Jared Lofi. My background is I worked for the FAA for 3 years, but I'm currently working as a contractor, air traffic control in Falmouth Tower on Otis Base. And I want to apologize for being late earlier. I have a brand new newborn and my wife got sick, so it was just really hard to take care of everybody, as you guys can imagine, before I got here. I think it's really important to get stakeholders' opinions for everything before we all make a decision. Personally, I'm in favor of airport expansion. I do understand that having more runway is always, you can't use the runway that's behind you, so having any more runway is going to be always extra safe for our pilots that are coming in and out of it. But yeah, generally, that's who I am. And I really do think that I would have a unique perspective that I could help bring to the board.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Thank you very much. So we have 8 appointments. We have 4 selectmen. What do you think about each selectman make 2 nominations or suggestions, or we can take them one at a time? It's just going to take a little while.
Mr. Chairman, would your preference be to do each of the terms as we did with the other?
Yeah, would you want to start with maybe the 2 3-year terms and then go right down the list?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That way it's easy to keep track of.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
I'll make a nomination for one of the 3-year terms. I'll nominate Mr. Stephen Lantain.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Motion by, excuse me, Mr. Golden, second by Mr. Bledsoe, and then John. And discussion? And this is for the 3-year term? Oh, sorry, go ahead, John. 3-year term.
So, just picking up on where Lorraine left off, some of her comments. 3 of the individuals, so we're striving to have a balanced committee here. We've already made a couple of singular appointments. We saw what happened with the town of Carver. We got those 4 individuals locked in, and now we're moving on to the final 8. And there has to be some neighborhood representation here. So I support this nomination. Steve and Lisa have been very vocal from the beginning of the process, and I know they're locked in one way or the other. You know, they're not necessarily coming into this neutral, but there has to be some neighborhood participation on this committee, and you know, hopefully if they get involved, and, you know, get appointed, and one of them gets on there, and as the GATA goes through, you know, maybe there'll be some sort of consensus as we reach the end of the process.
Any other comments? Comment?
Yeah, my comment is, there's a lot of people out here that I'd like to nominate, and if I can pick two, is that what we're gonna do, pick two?
If that's what the board chooses, yeah.
And everybody picks two, is that how it's gonna be? Because I'm hoping somebody picks some of the people I want, because I have opinions, so, but if you want, I'll give you my first two, if you want, if that's how you wanna do it.
Well,
You wanna start, David?
So we're on.
Wait a second.
We're on the 3-year term right now.
Right, exactly.
So I think we're doing just the 3-year term. And if this candidate's successful, I assume, Mr. Chairman, we'll go on to the next 3-year term.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
So, who gets the next 3-year?
Hold on. Please, I'm just going to write this down, how we voted. Hold on. Okay. Well, you can make a motion for who you think should have the next.
I'll make a motion for Anthony Caruso.
Just find him.
I'll second that nomination.
So it's motion by Mr. Blitzer, second by David Golden. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Just bear with me. That's 3 years. So those 2 terms are done. So now we have 3 2-year terms. The first 2-year term?
Who's next?
Oh, anyone can go, Charlie, if you.
I'll nominate Alan Costello.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blitzer, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. That's for the first 2-year term. Do I have another motion for a 2-year term? Or a nomination, I should say.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Mr. Kyle Haas.
Okay. Do I have a second? I'll second that.
This is why I don't want to.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. That's for a 2-year term. All right. If I'm doing this right, we got one more 2-year term. And Mr. Golden?
I'll nominate Timothy Helm.
I didn't hear that.
Timothy Helm.
Timothy Helm.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And then we have 3 1-year terms. I'd like to nominate Peter Connor.
Second that.
Where'd he go? Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Second one-year term?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate, I think maybe the only individual who might qualify for being under the age of 40, Mr. Justin Fosdick.
I'll second the nomination.
Okay, Justin Fosdick. John Mahoney made the motion, second by David Golden. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
I'd like to nominate for the last one year, Mr. Adam Bond.
I'll second the nomination.
Okay, Adam Bond, Charlie, Mr. Blitzer, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm generally in favor of Mr. Bond, and he's appeared before us a number of times recently. And I appreciate the enthusiasm he has for supporting the community. Forgive me, but was that 3 nominations from you, Mr. Helm?
Helm?
Charlie's,
Mr. Blitzer?
Bond, Caruso, Costello,
My name's Blitzer.
Mr. Blitzer? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, it was.
And Mr. Mahoney had Justin Fosdick, Kyle Haas.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
So I think maybe you had only one.
I had one. Yeah, it's fine. That's it? Okay. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So unless I messed up, we should have 8. Yes, we do. Thank you all for applying. Good luck. You want a motion to adjourn after I get up?
Mr. Chairman, motion
Yes.
to adjourn?
Second.
Second by Mr. Blitzer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.